Hi again, everybody. To reintroduce myself, I'm Jersin, Product Manager on Google Analytics. I'm going to be talking for the next few minutes about measuring social. In particular, I'm going to talk about this feature that I mentioned earlier, social plugin analytics. I'm going to talk about how to quickly set it up on your site, show you a case study of what kinds of insights you can gain from this feature, how it could help your business. I'm going to say just a few words on what else is going on with social at Google, and then, of course, it'll be up to you to take these insights back to work and use them. So what is social plugin analytics? Let's start by talking about what social plugins are. You probably have seen sites like this around the internet. You probably have sites like this around the internet. At the bottom here, we see a set of social plugins. The Facebook like button, Twitter tweet button, Google +1, even an email button. From our perspective, any widget that drives social engagement on your site is a social plugin. When you start tracking these things, you can get an idea of what's going on with them. How does behavior of users change if they interact socially with your site? Does it change? You could do a comparative performance analysis. Which plugins are working for you? Which aren't? Which pieces of your content are working for you? And which aren't? So it's very easy to set up. I'm going to run through this quickly before we dive into the case study. If you have the Google +1 button on your site, there is no setup required. You're already tracking data. All you need to do is look at the reports. If you have one of the other social plugins on your site, Facebook like button, etc., you need to make a very small change, which is to call this method track social. It takes 3 parameters. I'm going to define what they are so we get an understanding for what it is we're tracking and how we can analyze this data. The network here, this first parameter, is the network that powers this button. This could be Facebook. This could be Twitter. This could be email. The action is the action that the user is taking when they click on it. For a Facebook like button, the action is like. For the Facebook send button, the action is send. The user could unlike something that they'd already liked. The action would be unlike. And then this target URL is kind of interesting. We see on a lot of blogs, for example, right on the home page, you'll have rows and rows of new blog posts. Each one of them have their own buttons on them. And when you click like or +1 on one of these posts on the home page, you're not liking the home page. You're liking that post, which has a different URL. And so we would pass the URL in here. And we can track both which pages users are engaging on and which pages they're engaging with, which pages they like. This is how you would set it up for the Facebook like button on your site. This top half of the page, you would already have this code on your site. That's the Facebook like button. In the bottom half, you can see how we're quickly plugging into the Facebook API. And when the Facebook like button gets pressed, we call this track social method. We pass Facebook as the network, like as the action, and fun.com as the target URL. That's what we're liking. So let's look at a case study. Let's understand, if we had this set up on our site, how could it benefit us? What kind of insights could we get? Milkadeal.com is a great daily deals site. They have new local daily deals every day. The idea is you go to the site, you see a deal, you share it with some of your friends, you all get this deal together, and then you go have fun having whatever activity or whatever deal you just bought. Social is an inherently important part of this business model, but I think we all want social to be an important part of our businesses. As I've said before, this kind of social interaction is making your users do your jobs. That's an awesome situation. I would love that. So they were excited, Milkadeal was excited when they heard about this feature. They set it up in just a few minutes, and we'll walk through what they saw. This is one of their deal sites, one of their deal pages. You can see if you buy this deal, you could go paddleboarding with your friends. Across the top, they have a set of social plugins. The one on the left is an email button, Twitter tweet button, Facebook send, all the usual suspects. When they looked at their data, this is what they found. They compared non-socially engaged visits with visits that had social engagement. And they saw that when there was social engagement, the conversion rate was 8 times as high. They made 8 times as much revenue per visit from these users. This looks like an important demographic, an important pattern of behavior. They drilled deeper, they found which buttons were performing for them. Facebook Like doing very well. Email in a surprising second place. Email, I've mentioned it a few times, but it's often the forgotten social network. We don't even think of email as a social network sometimes, but it was the first social network. It's the broadest social network. Everybody's on email. Again, Facebook Send doing well, Google Plus, strong showing, Twitter, surprisingly not on this list. When they looked at e-commerce conversion rates, where's the money? They found the Google Plus One button had the highest conversion rate of all the buttons. But again, a surprise, email is the heavy hitter here. 40% of revenue from these visits was made with users that clicked on the email button. This is interesting. This is something that we should encourage the use of. So when we look at that page again, that deals page, we see this email button. We start thinking of what could we do? What could we do to drive more usage of this button? I'm going to stop here. I'm not actually going to tell you what the data is. Unfortunately, we don't have much, but I did speak to one of the Milk a Deal co-founders earlier today, and they said they tried a few things out with this email button. They made some changes, and it looks like, it's early, but it looks like they're seeing substantial increase in engagement with this button, roughly doubling. So I'm going to stop here because we're going to talk about testing in a little bit. We're going to have a break in a few minutes, too, after the next speaker. During the break, spend a minute thinking about what you would do with this insight. What would you test on this page? What kind of changes would you think to make? This button is red, like the rest of the background. Maybe it blends in too much. Maybe we should turn it blue or green. Maybe we should put some text there. It's the only button without text. Think about what you could do to drive more engagement. Now, for a quick word on what else is going on with social at Google, we launched this feature, of course, Social Plugin Analytics, just after the entire company launched Google Plus, a new social network that we believe will help drive social forward on the web. We also acquired a company called PostRank, which I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but if you haven't, check them out. They're very cool. They're doing cutting-edge social analytics on the web. And we think the marriage of Google Analytics with this team will pave the way for Google Analytics to be a world-class social media monitoring tool. But what about the here and now? We have Social Plugin Analytics. Here's how you can take advantage of it. Get the Google Plus One button. If you don't already have it, it's easy to set up. Tracking will be instant. If you have the other social plugins, grab our sample code. It's right on our website. Just copy and paste for Twitter and Facebook. For other buttons, it's equally easy. And start tracking all of these plugins. And then finally, look at the reports and start understanding how you can optimize for a new social experience. Thank you.